Okay, so I think it works. Yes, we're live. So, welcome to our monthly Q&A from ArcBees, our GWT Q&A, where we discuss GWT and we discuss the human side of GWT. Today, we're pleased to have with us Manuel, which we nickname Manolo. So, yeah, maybe we can just kick in and you can start presenting yourself.
Okay, so so my name is Manuel, but everyone named me Manolo. Is a short name, but actually is equals. But yeah, so I am a budding team member for 2 years right now, and also I love the open source movement. So I have been contributing with different projects like GWT, also in Apache, in the James project, Jenkins, some Linux contributions as well, and many things. So you can say that I love open source. And, yeah.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, just to remember our viewers, if you have questions, you can ask them at any point in time with the Q&A widget in the Hangout. So we will be able to answer them as much as possible. We received a few questions in advance, so we'll go through these. Yeah, so we'll go through these also, but yeah, so feel free at any point if what we say prompts you to ask a question, go for it. We're there to answer the questions of the community. So yeah, so you said you work for Vadin, and we see that. Can you tell us about it and what is your role there, and yeah, a little bit more about what you do there?
Okay, so my role there is a GWT expert, and right now I am working in the Elements team. So basically, what I do for Vadin is research and development, everything related with the front end. So right now I am not working so much with GWT, because what we are doing is trying to create a new widget set for Vadin and also for other frameworks. And we are right now using a lot of JavaScript or other frameworks like Polymer, Angular, etc. So we are every day experimenting with new things. But yeah, for with questions, many people in Vadin ask me, as well as I continue contributing with GWT.
Super. So did you do? Can you say you're like a developer, or more like do you more like support, or more like what would be your
Developer.
Yeah, developer. Cool. And you work yeah, so you work from home, I see.
Yeah, I work from Spain, and I spend some weeks in Turku in Finland, which is the main office of Vadin. But yeah, almost the time I am at home.
Cool. One thing that we love to ask our guests is to tell us when and why did they start using GWT. So maybe, yeah, so tell us about what motivates you at the beginning to start using GWT and contributing to GWT. And
yeah. Well, the story is that I was managing a group of about a dozen of engineers in Madrid. We were developing a hotel management system for web. It was about 28, 29, and we had a lot of JavaScript. In fact, we developed some homemade frameworks, because in those days there are only prototype library. jQuery was not yet very known, and And at the end, we had a big and complex system made with JavaScript in the client side, and it becomes unmaintainable. So I decided to go ahead with GWT, because we have a lot of experience in Java. All the backend was written in Java, and also we were using testing as well as extreme programming and these kind of things, and GWT fit very well with testing, with continuous integration and this kind of. And at the end, we succeed in the project made with GWT, and I continue working with GWT in other projects, customer projects, etc.
Cool. For our viewers that just come in, so I just tell again that you can ask question in our Q&A widget if you want. You're free to do that. It will be a pleasure to answer your question. So could you tell us a little bit in the meantime about what is your role as a GWT maintainer? Which part of the GWT code do you work most on, and what your role in that community?
Okay, I mainly maintain certain parts of GWT which are stable and they don't have many changes. So just small changes. It is internationalization, request factory, and auto beans. So they don't have changed so much in last years. And also I manage the continuous integration server, and I take care of the artifact, the deployment, etc. So my role normally in GWT is to contribute reviewing some code, trying that this code doesn't break the build process. And also I fix some issues and maybe contribute with different things. For instance, last year I contributed very actively with super dev mode, etc. So depend on what we need in Vaadin, for instance, or what I need, or what free time I have for contributing with them. Yeah.
Cool. And as you said at the beginning, you are also involved in other open source projects, Jenkins and Apache. Could you tell us a little bit more about what you do with these projects and how you're involved in them?
Okay, with Jenkins, I maintain a plugin, which is the performance plugin, as well as I used to maintain the Emma plugin for coverage. And right now I am not doing so much with Jenkins, but I still maintain the translation to Spanish. And in Apache, I'm a member of the James. James is a mail server made with Java. In Apache, it's an enterprise server, and I developed the web interface for managing the server as well as the web mail. Both are coded in GWT.
Cool. So your interests in open source are quite large. So it's interesting to see that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
You were involved, I think, with Julien, which is now at Google, in the creation of GWTQuery. Could you tell us a bit about the story of the creation of GWTQuery? What brought you to create that library, and yeah, so what spawned that?
Well, I didn't create it because actually it was an idea of Ray Cromwell. So
yeah.
he started coding it because he has had a speech in the Google I/O. If I remember correctly, it was extreme GWT, and then the next year he only talked about GWTQuery, I guess. And yeah, the thing is that he did the project as a demonstration that GWT could compete with other JavaScript libraries. In fact, that GWT compiler could be faster than jQuery, for instance, when transversing the DOM. And I started wanting to use GWTQuery because in my project, in this hotel project that I have mentioned, we need to enhance the DOM with some tool in GWT. And the thing is that the GWTQuery was only initial version with few parts of the jQuery API. So I added almost the API of the jQuery class, and I sent a huge patch to Ray, and he accepted, and then I became a committer of GWTQuery. Later, 1 year later or so, Julian started contributing with plugins, and he became as well contributor of GWTQuery. So basically, this is the
Cool.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I find it fascinating when you look at jQuery example and then a GWT example, the similarities in the syntax that you guys followed. So it's for someone who want to use jQuery-like library with Java, it's pretty much yeah, the same. So it's really interesting. We have a question from a viewer, from Boris, which is telling, so I'll select this question. So the question is Vaadin moving away from GWT as the core client-side technology? No more GWT conferences in US.
Well, no, Vaadin is not moving. The thing is that what is doing Vaadin is that we need that our widget set is used not only in the Vaadin framework, but also that JavaScript frameworks can use our widget set, because we have many people have demanded from Vaadin to share the widget set. So we found that web components is a good material to work with, and then wrap these widgets with GWT and continue using it in the framework. But right now we are not thinking on abandon the GWT in the framework. What happens with the conference in the US and Europe as well is that well, the thing is that we want, not only we, but also all the, especially the GWT team wants to have new things to show to the community, especially the new Jackal compiler and things cool coming in GWT. So GWT conferences are delayed until we have time for, or yeah, some news from Googlers about what they are doing internally with the Jackal compiler, etc. So it's not in the Vaadin roof right now, but we have not abandoned the idea of have a GWT Create conference. So for sure that it will happen, but no idea when.
Yeah, and I think the community also wants that type of event, and there's a lot of users in the US. So yeah, I guess it's just a matter of time to have another conference in the US. So thanks for your question, Boris. So don't hesitate, viewers, if you have other questions, you can do like Boris and ask questions. It will be a pleasure to answer them. So you talked about GWTQuery. Could you tell us about maybe how you see its evolution, if you see some, or yeah, so how do you see how it's going?
Well, the evolution of GWTQuery, what I have thought for the roadmap is, first we need to support lambdas. So as GWTQuery has almost the same syntax that jQuery in JavaScript, or equal of the same simplicity using lambdas. But right now it's difficult because we use classes, abstract classes for functions and other things. So we need to support lambdas. But when I started to port with query to use Java, full Java 8, the compiler, with compiler, didn't support all the features like static methods in interfaces or default methods, etc. So at the end, I decide to wait until full support of Java 8 in the compiler. But yeah, when the version .8 is out, probably I will spend some time for porting with query. But also, what happens when with the new generation of GWT, which is supporting more and more the JavaScript interoperability. The thing is that probably we have to get rid in GWTQuery of many utility classes that we provide, because they are automatically or easily usable from GWT using JS interop. So once that JS interop is ready, and as well as the Java 8 support in the compiler, probably we have to design a roadmap and get rid of many things in GWTQuery, like probably support all browsers and use directly native query support to the DOM, instead of using that JavaScript, not JavaScript, but pseudo JavaScript implementation that we have inside, or many things. So yeah, it's not dead, but I think it has a good future, because GWT is moving to Elements API instead of Widgets API. So
yeah, cool. And yeah, so it brings me to the question by a reader of our blog who asked a question beforehand the Q&A, and he writes, and that's a question we often get. If you write GWTQuery in Google, you get 2 Git repository. Which one should we use and is up to date? Last time I checked, only RBs works with latest version of GWT 2.8 trunk. So yeah, so you're right. As far as I can tell, yeah, RBs announced an official support for GWT, and we have a 1.4, I think, beta 1, which works with GWT.8 beta 1. So yes, we have a version which is a beta version, because it's not GWT 2.8 is not stable. But for the moment, we have a GWT prototype. So if you want to try it, you can try it with GWT 2.8 beta 1. We have a good question from Zakaria. Can GWTQuery be a good alternative for making REST calls from a GWT client side only? I mean, is it stable enough?
yeah, GWTQuery has an Ajax API, and it's very simple to use. So I have used it for years, and it works very nice. So yeah, it's an alternative to, for instance, to JSON parsing in GWT, because, or XML parsing as well, and also for using directly the connection, and yeah, it's better than use directly high-level classes in GWT.
Cool. Yeah, cool. And we have another question from Drew. As a JS interop matures, is it possible that Vadin's GWT API generator that was used for GWT Polymer will allow anyone to wrap any native JavaScript library easily and quickly without writing tons of boilerplate?
Yeah, that's our idea. In fact, what the GWT generator does is that it reads Polymer using the hydrolysis, which is a Polymer parser, kind of parser, and we have all the tree of the component, and then we write methods and properties, etc. But our idea is to support, for instance, TypeScript definition files. So as you can, for instance, get the definition file of jQuery and then parse it and produce the Java code that we need. So I don't know if officially GWT is going to have something similar. If not, Vaadin will support will support this project doing this kind of stuff, because that is the missing part in JS Interop, is wrapping things. Like, for instance, GWT is internally producing a new elemental library, which should be in 2.8.1 probably, because it will not be in 2.8. But yeah, the idea is to support any library, or to wrap any library if they have a definition file. Yeah.
Cool. So it brings us naturally to our Polymer question. So that you said you're also involved with Polymer in GWT. So could you tell us a little bit about that, and maybe a little refresher for those who won't be familiar? What is Polymer, and what's the story, the project with GWT?
Okay, so in Vaadin, we think that web components is the future of the browser. So because with web components, you extend the browser API adding new components, so no need of plugins, etc. And these components can be isolated from the rest of the page. So this is the point, as designers love web components because they can produce whatever widget that it's going to be shown in the page without interferences from the page. So using web components, you don't need any framework, because the framework is actually the DOM, so, and the HTML declarative syntax with attributes, etc. So what Polymer is just a library for syntax sugar, or for facilitating to create web components. So basically, if you create a web component, a raw web components using the API, you have to write a lot of JavaScript code probably, and it's difficult to, for instance, to do some data binding between elements, etc. So Polymer is this, gives you that syntax sugar. Polymer is not a framework; it's a library for facilitating web components, and it's a lightweight library, as well as it makes possible to run web components in all browsers that has missing the specification right now. So that's the reason we are using Polymer, and maybe many people, or almost people wanting to create web components, are going to use Polymer in the time being, you know. And what we do with GWT is that we can wrap these elements or web components made with Polymer, or even made with any other thing, because we have JS Interop. So we have the library we have mentioned before is the GWT API generator, able to create all this stuff and use directly web components from GWT. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
yeah, go ahead.
About the future, I think web components is going to be used in any framework, not only GWT, but also in Angular. We are using, or we are creating directives for our web components in Angular, because Angular community is huge, as well as any other framework like jQuery, etc. So yeah.
Cool. And for people who would want to use Polymer today, where do they go, and what's the reference or something that you can give? It's on GitHub, or?
Yeah. So basically, if you want to use Polymer in GWT, the easier tutorial is the tutorial that we have in the GWT project official site. So there is a tutorial there for creating a to-do application using the GWT, using Polymer and GWT Polymer elements library from Buddy. So yeah, that's the best. You have there the links to the GWT generator. You don't need the GWT generator at all because we already deliver a library with all the paper elements, all the iron elements, all the budding elements ready to use in GWT. It's in alpha stage, but it's quite functional, you know. So there are some links to projects, as well as I have, if you go to github.com/Manolo, you can see a couple of examples, which is a chat application, which is made with Polymer, and also with Polymer elements, as also the to-do application is there. So plenty of examples.
Cool. We received other questions from a reader of our blog, so I'll read it to you. We are building ERP application in GWT. We are moving out of widgets, and we really like GWTQuery. Which technology would you recommend for HTML templating and CSS files? We do support only latest browser, so our components are mostly built with divs. So yeah, which technology would you recommend?
If I have to write a GWT application right now, probably I will start with GWT Polymer, because it's a challenge to use all those technologies, and also it's very simple to use. If we support templates from Polymer, so it's very easy to data binding, not only values but also functions, etc. Because yeah, the GWT Polymer makes easier to use the UI binder, because GWT doesn't have right now any other solution but UI binders. We don't have anything able to parse plain HTML in GWT or plain CSS in GWT. So the easier way is to use UI binder, but because in UI binder you can use directly elements and HTML, as well as you can use JS interop element directly, etc. I would go right now with that until some framework comes or something. But yeah, I think Polymer is a good option. Otherwise, use UI binders, but using elements instead of widgets. So you should avoid using widgets in the right now, I guess.
Cool. Thanks for your answer. So Zakaria want to be do a bit of shameless promotion. So said, I have created an adaptation of the Polymer starting kit using GWT Polymer and Moñino. Would you, Manuel, mind taking a look into my project when he's got a chance?
Yeah, I did. I have to send some suggestions, but yeah, I did.
So yeah, okay, and everybody else also is invited from which views that Q&A. So you can go check out this, and you have the URL that he gave us, and that's fun to see the community and people contributing on stuff and trying stuff. So yeah, thanks for that. Okay. Another question from a reader of our blog. By my opinion, one of the most useful GWT presentation, speed up your GWT coding with GWTQuery. You have mentioned full Java 8 Lambda support. What is the status of this feature? Can we use Lambdas at least for click handler?
Yeah, you can use for click handler. Probably yes, I think. But you cannot use in all those methods that use function as argument. I have a beta, or more, not beta, but alpha version in my GWTQuery clone. But yeah, I have not taken a look on it lately. So yeah, I need some time. Probably yes, when GWT 2.8 is out, maybe we can have some meeting with RBs and decide some roadmap. And I think the first thing that we have to do is lambdas, and replace function with lambdas. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So another question, is jQuery GWT technology that will survive upgrade on GWT 3.0 Jackal compiler?
Oh, I don't know, but probably there are many things inside of GWT query that could be useful for people using directly the Jackal compiler. Actually, there is not so much information about the Jackal compiler. If the Jackal compiler is something like TypeScript, that I guess it could be so that you have a Java file in your folder, and automatically this Java file produce a JS file somehow like TypeScript does. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe jQuery doesn't have so much to do apart from maybe some syntax sugar or something, but not sure.
Yeah.
Until the thing is that the Jackal compiler is being code inside of Google, so there is no information even for GWT maintainers. So we know only some things about it, but not so much.
Yeah, we have some clues, but we're not really sure about exactly what will be in GWT 3.0 and Jackal, so it's hard to guess. So.
Yeah, we only know about that it is a Java to Clojure compiler, so it produces JavaScript, very readable JavaScript that the Clojure compiler is able to obfuscate it or to optimize some way, but nothing else. Yeah.
Cool. Maybe a last question that I got for you. A question I like to ask to our guest: what will be the next significant thing for GWT in an ideal world in terms of technology or community or?
I want to think that it will be JavaScript language or JavaScript technology. So it's something done for producing JavaScript applications and thought only for the browser side, or even for the server side if you use Node.js. But the thing is that you produce directly from Java to JavaScript, like TypeScript. So it's high-level language over JavaScript, but not with the complication that we have right now with permutations or making modules. So as you have big application that all the application has their JRE inside, so probably the GWT will not support all the JREs, and you only have to use the API from the browser or from JavaScript. So I think it would be simpler Java implementation, or so using just the language instead of all the Java API. But yeah, that's my view.
Cool. So that's pretty much the end of the questions that I had for you, and I don't see any other questions. So would you have the last words that you want to tell, or maybe plug a project that you would want contributors for, or?
Yeah, if you want to take a look to what Vaadin is doing with elements, you can visit vaadin.com/elements. So also you have a /GWT, and in the GWT part you have all the Polymer elements like explained. So as you can understand why we are producing that. And also, yeah, we are working internally in new version of the framework, but all of the ideas are based on this idea on web components with Java in server side and this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Super. So Manuel, thanks a lot for your time. It was a pleasure having you here. For our viewers, the next Q&A will probably be on the 18th with Colin Alworth. So stay tuned for that, for the news about that. You can look for that on our blog and our social networks as usual, and you can subscribe to our newsletter. So thanks a lot again, Manuel, and see you everyone next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.